Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we're going to talk about the CJI Giles Trials, the Australian trials for for the Craig Jones Invitational 2. As always on the show, I'm your host, Major, co-host
Austin.
How you doing, Austin?
I am good. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Let's see. So before we get into that, basically, rundown of today's show. We didn't preview it last week because we didn't really have a bracket. It's a 6-man tournament. How this tournament ran is it was a 16-man tournament. The winner of that 16-man tournament at Lachlan's gym then got an entrant into the 6-man round robin. That means everyone fights everyone. There's 5 rounds because there's 6 guys in total, 3 matches per round. So everyone goes against everyone. The goal was submissions. So we're mainly on this episode going to break down the 6-man because there are so many matches. We're not going to cover, honestly, even the matches in the 6-man. Just kind of the highlights of the event because it was cool. It gives us a chance to talk about the CJI format, some of the decisions that they made for this trials. And that is the framework of today's show. No previews. Just a nice kind of short trial show. I like doing the trial shows.
Yeah.
I think they're a lot of fun to break down because you see some new talent and you get a chance to kind of look at. I've always talked about this for years and years that I love trials. I love the ability for an athlete that doesn't have name recognition, that's maybe not recognized as being on the level, to get a shot and an opportunity to get into a major paid tournament. In years past, it was a much bigger deal because there just weren't opportunities to do it. Like, trials weren't as much of a thing. Like ADCC trials, that's always why, in my eyes, ADCC was like the definitive tournament that's like, this is the best in the world. It's like, why? Because every person in the world essentially had an opportunity to win their slot there.
For sure. And I think it's like a good thing to see, like you said, up-and-coming talent, people you might not know that well, who are going to be in this huge tournament that is probably going to be one of the highest paid again.
Yeah,
so
CGI.
CGI is one of the highest paid. So it's like, you get to see some of the people that you may not be familiar with. Maybe they're not like a world's winner. Maybe they're not like the world beater that you know, but they are going to be the next crop of talent to be on that same level, like you said.
Yeah, we talked about it for years and years, like when Polaris did their trials, that was the guys that are going to win trials. Like Kasai did trials. Like, out of the Kasai trials, we got Junior Casio and Pedro Mourinho. Like, those are guys with purple belts winning those trials versus black belts. Like Craig Jones, trials winner. Lachlan Giles, trials winner. Like, guys that were not huge known quantities that got their shot on the main stage, on the biggest shows, to go, hey man, I actually really am that good. Yeah. And I am on the level, but I may be from a region or from a gym or from an area. Like, I have not had a chance to show that shine yet. Like 100%. Mashima Chulowicz, like, wins the Polaris trials and then goes on to win ADCC trials and go to ADCC and go into Polaris squads. Like, he goes on to be like a monster and like a world medalist, and be like, oh yeah, he in these showings showed other people that, yeah, man, I can contend on that level. And I appreciate that trials give athletes that maybe without them would not have an opportunity. Hey, man, you're going to have to fight through 27 IBJJFs to then get a shot at Worlds. And, like, maybe you're not going to get a chance to shine at Worlds because of, like, the format of this. These trials give people an opportunity to be on the big show, and they're awesome. And they're just fun because you see new talent, you see new stuff. And a lot of times you see for events like CJI that are kind of under a rapidly developing rule set, you see people kind of figure out the rule set.
Yeah.
See another pit wall event, which it didn't matter that much for this tournament, but it's like, hey, we haven't seen a pit wall event in a couple of months now.
Sure.
It's cool to see, like, oh yeah, you can
it's like karate combat and CJI. That was kind of it.
Pretty much,
and I think you made up a really good point about IBJJF. I mean, if you are a really close IBJJF follower, you're going to be able to see a bunch of opens because you have to score all the points. I mean, if you're really into watching it anyway. And then it's like you have, 4 majors that you can also watch. So you can see kind of all the talent through the different belt levels. But for Nogi, you don't really have the same kind of throughput as, like, I can watch somebody go from, like, oh, this is the new blue belt at AOJ who's running through everyone. Right. He's 17, so by the time he's 18, he'll probably get to black. But, you don't have that same kind of career progression in Nogi. And now it's getting there now that we have more events like CJI, like ADCC trials. So it's really cool to see this.
Yep. So before we get into that, let's get into a little bit of news. Austin and I were looking through the siege basically. So now we have the Giles team, the Australian team. Like I don't know exactly what does Flo call this team?
I think it's Team Australia. Am I
Team
wrong?
Australia, essentially, and then
Yeah,
Fabricio.
Australia, Asia. Yeah.
Team Australia, Asia, and Fabricio Andrey. So I loved this event because Lachlan Giles, again, they did this like a little show. It was a little long. It had some big breaks in it, but I liked that it's on the B Team YouTube, so you can kind of tab through, at a good speed. It plays well, which is awesome, and it was shot pretty well.
Yeah.
I loved that after the 16-man tournament happened and the super fights happened, I loved that Lachlan came out and went, we've announced our 66 wildcard guy.
Which is great.
Fabricio Andrey.
Yeah.
And I went, oh yeah, they can do that.
The wild card's such a great addition to having a quintet style because it's like, yeah, kind of who's on each team, but then it kind of gives them the option to kind of like, I'm just going to go grab another banger because I don't have someone to fill the spot. And then it also is like, if you have a team that's like mostly big guys, like you're an Atos or someone who has like all heavyweights, but I need a really good lightweight to kind of complete the rest of my team, they have the option to go out and get somebody else.
Yeah, you can go and get Pedro Mourinho, even though he might not be your GB guy. Like I like it, and the more I think about it, I'm like, that's kind of a cool form. It gives guys that maybe didn't get an opportunity to like be on their own team to like get pulled into a team, which I like. Speaking of wild cards, we just saw this. I don't know how I missed this. I think it might have come up in the chat like last week, but I had a busy work week last week. Victor Hugo is on the B team squad.
That's a wild pick.
And as a plus 99, and I just loved. I was like, that's hilarious. Because again, we talked about it over and over the past couple of months of Victor Hugo versus Nick Rodriguez, where it's like Nick Rodriguez just can't beat Victor Hugo.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, like stylistically or technically, or whatever's going on, Victor Hugo has his number. If Nick Rodriguez says Victor Hugo, that is going Victor Hugo's way right now. And that could change in the future, but right now, man, we have good data to suggest that Victor Hugo has the matchup figured out pretty handily. So they went, we don't want to deal with that. We're going to just bring Victor Hugo on our team.
I didn't think about this analogy when we were talking about it earlier, but it's kind of like in gym class, if you were able to go and like pick another kid from like another gym class that you know is good at dodgeball, and you're like, come join our team so we can like just throw this ball at nerds. You know what I mean? It's like,
that's
Victor Hugo, you're really good. Come join the rest of us. We're going to have a stacked team now. That's 20% of your team. That's really awesome.
It's just for me, it's so funny. It's like almost like Gordon beats Nick Rodriguez. He just beat Kynan, which is the only other guy that he had like a loss to.
Sure.
Like in the recent future at all, in the recent past at all. And Victor Hugo, you're like, awesome. So no one in the world is beating your under 99 and maybe again, I say no one in the world. We do have the New Wave team, or now the Kingsway team, that does have Luke Griffith on it, who potentially can beat Victor, who has beaten Victor Hugo. So there is that. Oh no, sorry, has beaten. He beat Kynan, not Victor Hugo.
Kynan, yeah.
Yeah, I might have that mixed. But still, like your plus 99 and under 99 is Nick Rodriguez and Victor Hugo. That is a hell of a team. And also on that team, Chris Wojcik has replaced J-Rod. J-Rod, you can look into everything that's going on with B Team and J-Rod. It's not really the focus of our show. Go look into it if you're interested. He has now been removed from B Team due to some misconduct in that team. Go look into it if you are more curious. That's going on. So Chris Wojcik is now in that under 88 kilo slot. Joseph Chen is in the under 77 kilo slot. And Ethan Carlson is on under 66 there for that team. So that is just an absolutely stacked team. Now for Team Australia, we have Fabricio Andrey representing Team Australia in Asia, Team Giles. We have Levi Jones-Leary, Lucas Kanard, and in this big tournament now, we now have Declan Moody as the under 99, and Belal, man, I should have worked on pronouncing his name.
Etiabari.
One more time.
Etiabari.
Real slow for me.
Etiabari.
Belal Etiabari in plus 99. So we're going to recap basically how those two guys won their trials qualifier slot into Team Australia today. Overall, man, these teams are looking stacked. We've already talked about the Planet team, the New Wave team. We now have the B team. We have Team Australia. We have Team Americas that I think is being called Team Wildcard that Greg Souders.
Team Misfits.
Team Misfits, that's what it was. That Greg Souders there. We have DeAndre Corbray in the under 66 kilo. They're going to run a trials as well. Like, these are really shaping up to be an exciting event. So that's I'm absolutely excited for this event. In other news this week, we got the official announcement that ADCC, the first North American trials, registrations have begun. So Orlando, it's moving from Jersey. I think Tom DeBlass is no longer running it, so now it's moving down to Orlando. Mo's been talking about having one in Florida for a long time. My parents just moved down there. I'm kind of amped because I can probably stay with them, which would be kind of tight.
Save some money.
Save some money. See the family. So that'll be awesome. See my mom and dad down there. So I'm excited. I'm like, I was like, that's kind of like super cool. I told my parents about it when it was soft announced a couple of months ago, and they're like, come on down. I'm like, this is awesome.
Nice.
So we're gonna be booking that soon. I think that's in November. I think November like 14th. I think was the date we saw initially. So registration is there now. I think it's 125. If you think that you're the guy, like we talked about trials, register for that. Luckily, it's not going to conflict with CJI this time, so that's awesome. So I think, am I missing any other news? We talked about a bunch of stuff, and then because Miranda's not here, I didn't write shit down.
Yeah.
Because Miranda is the wheels that keep the bus on most of the time.
Yeah, my bad. No brakes on this train. Let's go.
We're just running through it. So that is all the news we have today. We will absolutely forget and come up with stuff. So let's run into the qualifier for CJI2 for the Australian team. It's Australian Asia. I'm going to just call it the Australian team because it's Lachlan. He's an Australian dude. So team, what's his gym?
Absolute MMA.
Absolute. What are they calling it? Team Australia?
I think it's Team Australia so far.
Okay. Is there any non-Australian dude on there, actually?
That made it or who are competing?
Fabricio Andrey. Team Australia and Fabricio Andrey.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 16-man tournament first. So there's some cool storylines that came out of this. Your two big frontrunners, or three big frontrunners going into this tournament, I think we're going to be Kenta Iwamoto, who is an ADCC Asian Trials multiple-time winner, I think at 66, 77, and 88.
Oh, really?
I
didn't realize he did all three.
Yeah, because in 2019, he wins at 66. And then I think he wins at 77. I think he wins at 88 last time. Or might have went, again, Kenta's won a bunch. Kenta was a front runner. Again, a bit undersized because this is going to be an under and over 99 kilo entrant. But Kenta can bang. We've seen him be just a monster for a very long time at this point. Anton Maneko, who is an AJP medalist for AJP World Pro, like what used to be UAE JJF World Pro.
Yep.
Very, very good grappler as well. And late replacement came in here with like 2 weeks notice, Kit Dale.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Kit Dale very often, but Kit Dale had, I'm not saying a Cinderella story because that's not like the right way to, I think, describe his run. Dude's 39.
Yep.
And kind of by all accounts nowadays, sort of trains like a hobbyist.
Sure, yeah.
But if you've not been in the sport for a really long time, we don't talk about Kit Dale enough, so let me give you some context for who Kit Dale is and why this kind of is so interesting. Kit Dale was essentially Craig Jones before Craig Jones.
It's a great way to put it.
In like he was the younger, savvy Australian guy that was mainly in Australia, but still would make waves, and everyone's like, oh, that guy's really good. And he was a training partner of Lachlan and of Craig. And Lachlan and Craig to this day still talk about like, yeah, man, Kit Dale just was frustratingly good because you would show him something and he would just have it.
Yeah.
And he would just be able to pick stuff up faster than like anyone. And again, he went on to go and do, great things in the world of grappling and had good success, never really cracked like the upper echelon of elite guys, but was always a guy almost like weirdly in the mix for like how unknown he was. He then came to America. He got into acting in his 20s, and now he's in his 30s. So Kit Dale is 39, coming in really not a current competitor. I think him and Craig had a match that we covered in Grappling Industries. Like, it was a super fight match that they had like 6 years ago, maybe like 18 or 19, I think. Or Kit had a match with someone else back then. But like, we don't cover Kit Dale very often.
Sure.
Dude kind of still has it a little bit.
I wouldn't say more than a little bit.
Dude. He wins.
Yeah.
He wins the 16-man tournament. And again, that is with a little bit of an asterisk because Kenta Iwamoto put his tooth through his lip in the second round, basically. So in the quarterfinals, Kenta wins his match by straight ankle lock over Sophie, and then was going to face Uros in the semifinals, but then Uros walks over, and then Kit Dale beats Anton Maneko by decision there, which Austin and I kind of watched it. It was
Yeah, it was mostly stand-up. A lot of good hand fighting, but there was kind of just a takedown in the last minute from Kit that won it for him.
And it really, so the 16 round could go to decision.
Yep.
And then, or submission. It was decision or submission. Essentially, there's no points for it. And so Kit goes against Uros in the finals match, sits mostly in half, wins the activity. That's sort of how Kit has been getting through most of his matches. In round 2, Kit hits a Kimura over Matthew. And that Matthew Oxenham. Yeah. And that is the only sub that Kit's able to get in the 16-man tournament. But it does give him a slot into the 6-man round robin with the big hitters, essentially.
Yeah.
So, first of all, congrats to Kit Dale, man. That's crazy.
That was a great run.
It's crazy for him at 39. Kind of like, not off the couch. Kit Dale is still a very good, world-level athlete.
100%.
But it is very funny for him to, drop in last minute and win the whole thing. And you're like, oh, right, Kit Dale is,
forgot how good he was.
Weirdly good.
Yeah.
He also, I think he would be astonishingly frustrating to grapple. And we'll talk about this, I think, more in the 6-man. But he has a style that was, I think, very unfriendly to him being able to win a slot into the CJI event.
Sure. Yep.
For just because Kit will spend a lot of time in the knee shield half on the top, passing and looking for very not low output, but
I would consider a very strategic game. A lot of flat passing, a lot of over-under style passing, a lot of knee cut when an opportunity presents itself, but cooking people until he can get a pass, or cooking people until he can get a takedown. So it's kind of
it's a very strategic game. Almost like an old school game.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the old school sport game where it's if I can outpoint you, I will, and then if I can get to a submission, great, but that's not really the goal.
Yes. And so we'll lead into this discussion because also now we're kind of, on the pre-show, we were talking about how to frame the style of grappling that Kit Dale brings to this event versus, sort of even Lachlan made a Reddit post as well, versus the style of grappler that this event was designed to put on the CJI team.
Yeah.
And so, again, in the first 16-man tournament that Kit Dale wins, you can win by decision or by sub. In the 6-man, because CJI2 is going to be a quintet-style event, and historically, until kind of player squads made the change that I like, in quintet, Alex Viana said it best, you are losing until you win. So because it's a team format, you bring your guy out, and then I think what they're doing for this one, they might do it subversive, where it's your guy faces, or what Aiga does, where your 66 faces their 66. I think that's how they're doing it. But historically in quintet, it has been the guy stays on. And so you have to sub the guy in order to get him out of that tournament. Now it's I think it makes more sense because, again, you have plus 99s kind of run away with it most of the time in that format. So I do like that it's your 66 versus their 66. It just makes it makes 80% of the matches much more interesting because they're much more even.
Yeah, and then you're not dealing with the fatigue of having to face okay, I just faced a 66 guy. Now change my style. I got to fight a minus 99 guy.
Right. It makes it wild in a way that makes those tournaments fun. But I think when there's this much talent, this much money on the line, I kind of like, hey man, your best 66er on your team versus mine.
100%.
From the sporting aspect of it, from the showmanship aspect, the old school quintet is I kind of like
still
how
cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's honestly, they're probably more fun to watch, but they're less interesting from a technical perspective.
Yeah, a competitive standpoint. You want to see the best at each weight fight the best at each weight for this style of match.
Yes. And so for this, I think, oh man, I lost the train of thought completely. Oh yeah, so for the CJI, for the 6-man tournament, you can't win by decision.
Right.
You can either win by submission or there's a draw.
Or it's a draw, yep.
Or you get subbed. And so essentially at the end, everyone ends up with a record of blank, 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 where it's how many subs you got, how many times you got subbed, how many draws you went to.
Yep.
And so what CJI is looking for, the person that's going to get, and Declan and Belal get onto the team, they are looking for submissions, because essentially for the quintet format for CJI2, from how we understand it, the only thing that's going to get your team points is submission wins. And so they want guys that are going to go out there and look to sub everyone who's in front of them. Unfortunately, Kit coming into the 16-man bracket, having had 4 matches on the day already, Kit's style for this tournament just isn't, that is not his really MO in how he's approaching a lot of the matches.
Yeah.
Like, he is not a super high-paced, high-activity guy, but he is a solid competitor. He's hard to turn over. He's hard to do anything to, and he will take a sub. Like, if he's able to pass you, get on top. Like, he will take a Kimura. He will submit you.
Sure.
But he's not going to go out of his way to positionally dominate and take risks in order to look for a sub. Whereas Declan is much more submission focused in his game, and that is what they were looking for in this tournament. So that's the analogy I made on the pre-show was in like basketball, you don't win the game because you have possession of the ball for longer.
Right.
Like the positional game in jiu-jitsu, in the old school game, like you would be winning for that. For CJI and sort of what they're looking for now is like, yeah, man, that's great. You position dominated the guy. You need to sub him. Like that is the thing we care about is that you can, positional dominance is great. You need to finish him. That's the criteria. That is a scoring criteria for us. It doesn't matter if you have the better pieces. If you don't sub him, you do not win. And so it's, again, we sort of talk about the modern context of the sport of jiu-jitsu and like from an entertainment perspective. That's the piece and the product that we're trying to move towards where it's like, yeah, man, people in ADCC I would get shit as a judge sometimes because it's like, well, it takes, you call stalling on guys. And it was like, well, he's body lock. But it takes a long time to body lock pass. It's like, yeah, man, I get that. He can't just sit in the body lock pass for 4 minutes. Like, you have to have progression. It's like, yeah, man, that pass, give him 30 minutes, it will be successful. We are now doing a sport that mandates and requires action, a technique that just relies on you, like, tiring a guy out and eventually getting past, like that is no longer an effective technique. Judo, I can't grab the belt for more than 2 seconds. Like, man, you have to be progressing because we're doing a sport. We're not doing no holds barred where it's like, this match can be 3 days long.
The emphasis isn't necessarily positional domination in the same way that it would be in like what most people look at as like a fight, right? Because that's how IBJJF scoring, I mean, for whatever it is or however you feel about it, the positional dominance wins because the implication is that if this were a fight, I could punch you. And for sport grappling, it's not really that. It's like you get to mount, that's great. Like it's a very dominant spot. You can tire people out, but you're really looking for a sub.
Doing work to submit them from.
Yes, the finish is the emphasis, not necessarily who's the person who can hold someone down longer.
I think even the years we've been doing the show, oh my God, closer to 10 years now than not. We've watched the landscape of the sport change significantly from like those slower, positionally dominant ad matches to being, and that wasn't always the case, but that was much more accepted as the norm where it's like, yeah, man, that guy leaned on you and almost passed in a 10-minute match. That is a perfect valid way to win versus now, because I think people are pushing more to make it a spectacle, make it an event that is a
make it entertaining
sport
for someone for the layman, right? Like, the layman wants to see a Ruotolo versus Attack It, right? They want to see an action-packed match, and of course, so do the fans. The deep fans want to see that, and so do the layman, and that's the best entertainment value.
Absolutely,
for grappling.
Every week, man, I will watch that match. Dude, I'll pay a streaming service for that match. Hey man, what it's gonna be $100 a year. Every 2 weeks we're gonna make them fight. I'm like, only 100? Bring it on. It's like, why?
Because Maine's rich.
It's a 20-minute card. It's a 20-minute card twice a month. We're all gonna get together for it, and we're gonna watch it. Everybody's like, man, it's 15th time this year. Yeah, man, we're all gonna go. It was good the 14th time though. God, I hope that's a super fight this year. I hope that gets announced as the super fight, where it's like Tackett just doesn't get on a team, or not Tackett. Tackett and Ty are just not. Cade are just not on a team. They're gonna we're gonna bring it back, and guess what? It goes until they die. It goes we keep yelling one more round. They just keep going one more round. There's a fan thing, and it's like if you yell loud enough as a fan, they just go another round, and it's them after round 3 just hyping the crowd up.
I'd really be excited to see what their gas tank would be in a no time limit match, just because
No, you don't tell them until they're in there, because both of them will agree. They'll both go, yeah, do it. And that's what we need as the fans. We just don't tell them it's no time limit. We just keep adding more rounds, and by round 8, they're just oh, we're still going, and those guys will go till they die.
100%.
And I'm so about it because they're awesome. So
hell yeah.
I apologize for the fever dream I just took everyone on here. Let's talk about the tournament, Austin, before we get too off track. I do not have Miranda to reel us back in. It's on me mostly this week. So I'm going to run through all of the matches. We're only really going to stop off at like little pieces here and there. The majority of the matches here are draws.
Sure.
And again, you have good guys, but it's one of the problems we've talked about for years is that if you have a lot of good guys together at similar levels, it's relatively hard to submit guys.
Yeah, especially if you know that's the only way to win is submission. It's like, okay, well, I'm in a position that I'm compromised. I can play pretty defensively for like a while until I have the opportunity to escape. There's no impetus for you to really escape unless it's like a shootout, like a leg lock shootout where you could also sub.
Which is specifically the problem with sub only. Like it's been the problem forever at sub only. It's like, hey man, you're kind of crushing this dude, but you can't put him away. Luckily for this tournament, it was honestly the level was very similar for all the guys, for most of the guys except for Declan, who, man, Declan looks good. The level was very similar, so we had a lot of matches that were like technically very close. And it wasn't just like it wasn't the match we never want to see, which is like homie gets stomped for the entire time and then goes to a draw, and you're like, but was it really? Like, but he was on your back for 4.5 of the 5 minutes, and he had you in 4 deep rear naked chokes for about 1.5 minutes total, and then it goes to a draw, and we all kind of look at each other like,
we know who won.
But was it really a draw?
Right.
None of the matches in any of the rounds had that, so that is good. But it is inherently one of the problems with submission only is that you can have those matches. Round 1 we had Bob Farias versus dude. Can you undo the names, man?
Alibi or Zabek.
But we've seen both guys. Bob's won trials. Alibi has been in the trials finals for Asian and Oceanic trials. That goes to a draw. Next one we had Declan Moody versus Kaya Rudolph, ends in a draw. We had Kit Dale versus Belal Etiabari. That also ends in a draw. That's round 1. That is how a lot of these go until we have Declan enter in round 2. And Declan goes. So it's funny you're back on the show because one of the first times I remember us talking about Declan was Asian and Oceanic trials. Was it last trials?
Last trials. Yeah, last trials.
And I think you were on that show, and we previewed it, and you were like, "Oh, I got Declan," and like Declan at that time was not a guy I knew who he was.
Yeah,
we had heard about him a little bit.
He was he was popping up a lot on like the B team stuff, and I watched him roll. People was like, oh, wait, who's that dude? So I kind of looked into like how good he actually was. This is a relative unknown at the time.
He was. I mean, I didn't really know who he was, and I do this show every week, and we've been tuned in for a while now, and like I am not super familiar with the guy. You were, and I went like, "Oh, you're picking Declan?" I went, "I'm also going to pick Declan because." And then Declan turned out to be like the guy. Yeah, and it's been really cool. But it is funny to have you back on the show and like making that what then was a pretty dark horse pick because Declan didn't really have anything. Like thinking back, no major big standout wins versus top level guys, and then we've gone to see him like really excel at B team, and then, dude. So Albi, what's his first name again here?
Albi or Zabek.
Yeah, Albi. This is a really interesting sequence, and it was what I liked about it is we got to see the wall used because Albi is. I remember his trials matches. I think I remember his trials matches. It was like a lot of pretty decent like stand-up wrestling and like weight for a heavyweight that was like, oh, he's like a little bit faster than a lot of guys like, and he is a little bit more crafty with his wrestling than a lot of guys expect.
Yeah, he took Bob down in the first round. He took Bob down twice, I think.
Yeah, in like a way where you saw Bob kind of go like, okay, this is a guy that is in front of me in the wrestling. And Bob's not known for being super explosive. He is good everywhere, but I had a point I was going to make here about his game. But like, I think these guys met at trials before actually. I think Bob beat him at trials, or Albi was a weight class below. Anyway, it's not important. Declan counter drags. A takedown off the fence or off the seat of the pit wall from Albi, and then immediately he just gets behind the shoulder. He turns the arm. I actually watched with my wife Rachel, and she went, "Huh, yeah, got behind the arm." Because we were eating dinner before before you got here, actually watching it, and she was like the casual way that she went, "Got behind the arm."
Yeah. If you have that drag position, whether you dragged or not, if you're behind the tricep, that's like such a strong position to be in and take the back.
But to Albi's credit, then he goes to the all four. He goes a 4-point position down, and then Declan goes jumps his back. It has been really interesting in the last couple of years. Big guys can now jump the back. Yeah, like I think like 10 years ago, like they really couldn't.
Yeah, I think you see a lot more agility in this trials than you've probably seen out of a lot of big man brackets, maybe ever. I'm a huge caveat to that. But there's a ton of like agile, big moving, guard playing big guys in this bracket, and that was really surprising to me too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And we don't see that very often at all. And again, it's also Lachlan's gym.
Sure.
A guy known for like, hey man, you have a crazy guard. Like,
Yeah, maybe the best guard retention of all time, or definitely in the conversation.
yeah, really, really good guard. So it makes sense again that all of Australia would go, "Oh, that's our guy? Okay, we're all getting really good at that."
Yeah, of course.
As a continent. Takes the back. He then goes to what I call a crackdown. You use the correct name, which is a half Nelson.
Yeah, it's like a power half.
Yeah, power half. That's what I was looking for. Power half, and then just pop. Camera angle is great for it. You see the hands come in, and you see Declan you see Declan's face. Declan is squeezing the shit out of the neck, and that is going to be a recurring theme here for most of Declan's matches.
Yeah.
Declan puts Albie away. Rear naked choke. One of many to come in this tournament for Declan. Moves on. Next rat. Anything else? Anything else? Kind of the sequence here.
No, that was probably the highlight of the second round.
I was really impressed with how big Declan is for like how he took the back.
Yeah.
A lot of big guys are going to bobble that back exchange, and it is refreshing to see big guys be able to do that now consistently, where it's like, oh yeah, he didn't overextend, he didn't get chucked off, he just like got there, he got to the hip, he was strong enough in his core to stay up, he thread the leg through, he got up, got the position, and then finished it. It's really nice, and again, it's one of the reasons I kind of like Declan's game as a bigger guy, because I think Luke Griffith, same way. It's like big guys that are also have really good core strength and can like do the stuff that historically you didn't see as effective in those weight classes.
For sure.
We have Belal versus Roberto, ends in a draw. We had Kit Deo versus Kaya Rudolph, ended in a draw as well. Was this the one you want to talk about for Kaya? Or you want to talk about another
I just want to
Kaya
talk
match?
about Kaya in general. So I've seen Kaya kind of come up through Absolute. He was on, if you go back and watch.
Absolute MMA.
Yeah, at Absolute MMA.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
You said Absolute.
Oh, yeah, Absolute MMA. Sorry. Yeah, Lachlan's gym. He was on like the instructional for like the leg lock anthology, which I don't know how many years old that is now, but I think he was like a teenager when that came out. So it's really cool to see him like come up and still be competing and on the level of like some of the really big names in the sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool to watch guys like oh, that's the same guy, like who's like Placido Santos.
Yeah.
There's another guy who's like, oh yeah, he's John Donahur's uke in his moves, and then you go and like see him like do really well at trials, and you're like,
yeah,
oh, you became like a monster grappler in that room.
Yeah.
Like it's always really cool to see that transition over the years, and then you
100%.
realize like I just got old. You keep going. Sorry,
You're good.
No, I'm good. I'm not gonna cut it out of the show.
You're not. That's why.
My brother's boyfriend just 100% of Vampire Survivors.
All right.
So,
right.
why he hasn't texted me in like a month, and that's when he texted me. So, let's see, where was I going here? Oh yeah, round 3. Belal beats Albie via straight ankle lock. This would be, I think, the only spoiler here. Oh no, there's more. Other than Declan and Kaya, the only other sub of the tournament.
Yeah.
Which again just kind of speaks to the level that all the guys are on.
There's one more.
Yeah, there's the Kaya one.
Kaya
one at the bottom.
sub 2. Yeah.
I didn't have any really notes on this. It was just like he gets a really good bite on a shotgun grip, and then Albie is fighting the hands, kind of doing what you should be doing.
Yeah. You could tell he was trying to boot his foot and kind of stand on the foot, but he just couldn't get to it in time.
Belal did a good job consistently of like opening the hip up, and like he had the both feet on the outside, he had the leg trapped, and he consistently
he had a butterfly ashi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just kept raising Albie's kind of leg and turning him to the side, so Albie could never like square enough to be able to make the stand up on it. It was just like, hey, it was just a really consistent, just fight over. And then eventually he kind of broke the hand grip, had the shotgun grip, and finished up. We see more and more guys recently using the shotgun grip, and it's a grip you use. Do you use it? It's not a grip I use.
I typically don't. I usually go Aoki in that scenario, this is what I thought he was going to do. But I'm really interested to see what happens with the meta of leg locks, because a few people seem like they think ankle locks are underutilized. Dima was talking about it, I think, on someone's podcast.
On someone's podcast. He was
So on
talking about
Simple
on Simple Man. They were talking about, and they hinted that like that for CJI2, that team is specifically working on that sub, and that is like a positional tool. And I was like, oh, we come full circle again, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out with some of the high level guys with straight ankle locks. You don't see them nearly as much as heel hooks.
Yeah, we're starting to. There's a couple guys like who's like Woj uses them a lot, and
And there's like the A block and weird like toe holdy straight ankle kind of things that aren't heel hooks.
Who broke Jed Hughes? Straczynski. Like Straczynski uses.
He's on another level. I feel like ankle lock wise, but I think a lot of guys will probably.
But a lot of guys watch
figure out that
Straczynski,
meta and catch up.
He uses that similar grip,
100%.
and everyone's like, I think Straczynski started breaking guys with the quickness, and everyone kind of went,
This is a thing that's still viable.
"Hold up, what?"
Right.
Because you'd see ankle locks, you see him at the high, finals, you see him occasionally, but for some reason, I still kind of tie that back to him because he got a couple really like astonishingly fast foot breaks, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a second.
There's something there.
The ankle lock is legit, and you can break a foot off with it.
Right.
I don't need to necessarily heel hook you, and I still have the control with it.
Right.
Okay." It is very funny to see. Like when we started the show years and years ago, it was really in the beginning of like the heel hook revolution. Like the DDS guys had started doing it in like 2014. Really, they were coming to prominence as like really strong leg lockers. There's a huge knowledge gap in the community, and then we saw like the meta kind of fix, and then it was still like, okay, guys can deal with it, and the best guys can counter with it. And then Lachlan in 2019, everyone goes, dude, we all have to really punch up our game. And we saw the whole community, like generally, like, you know, by 2020, really after like 5 or 6 years of really strong high-level leg lock competition, everyone can kind of do it now.
For sure.
And then now we're back to, okay, I don't need the heel hook anymore. Now we're back to the straight ankle again, like it's 2010. Yeah. And it just kind of makes me laugh that like that we've come full circle like this. And you see, again, you're seeing Belal for this sub, because this is the only sub. He does not get subbed by Declan, and he does sub, so he gets his slot off of this ankle lock. This is the game-winning ankle lock. When you was just something that he'd been training for like 4 years or something, 4.5 years.
Yeah, I think some of the commentators said that he'd only been training for 4 years, which is pretty nuts for how high a level his ankle lock looked.
It's very good. So next one we have in the same round, we had anything else on this finish?
No, I think that's good.
We had Declan Moody defeating Kit Dale with rear naked choke, and I think for me the funniest moment on commentary. Again, I did some tabbing around, but you just saw they had a great shot of Kit Dale in the choke, and he's like legitimately looks like he is chilling in the choke, and he has his hand mostly in where it's like Declan's really strong, but Kit is also a beast of a man.
Of course, yeah.
And like Kit is he's also a veteran. He's 39. He's doing it for a long time. He has his hand in. He's like, I probably got this. And then Declan like goes, he's not going to do that. And he like adjusts his hand, and then you see him like, the commentator's like, oh, Kid looks really comfortable. And then Declan like crunches down, and then Kid goes, oh, okay, you got me. It was just a very funny sequence. I don't remember the back take sequence here for Declan.
Yeah, I can't really remember exactly how he got to the back.
Yeah, I'm blanking. I'm completely blanking on it. Declan, did we talk about Declan's match versus Kaya? Oh, sorry, back to round one. Back to more Declan here. Because I realized we didn't talk about it then.
Yeah.
Declan beats Kaya in
a draw.
Sorry, doesn't beat Kaya. Has a draw with Kaya in the first round. You and I were both really impressed with Declan's passing. And it's one thing I want to kind of hammer here, because we forgot how he got to Cadale's back, but assuming he passed or dried or somewhere, you got to his back somehow. But like, I was really impressed with his passing versus Kaya, because Kaya would pull, and then Declan would just kind of, not a throwaway pass, just like a flat, like...
Yeah, he just moved to north-south like there were no frames in the way. And then he just flattened out north-south as if there were no frames in the way.
Like 3 different times in the match.
Yeah.
It was...
Yeah, he passed north-south like it didn't take much. And then if you watch Kaya and the rest of the matches, obviously his guard is a lot to deal with for everyone else.
Yeah, you can see him like consistently like being unable... Guys are unable to get past him consistently. And then Declan I think is also very long. And you see him put his hands in front in a way. Like, he uses his length very well, but it was just... It was almost funny to watch him just like, pass. It was like, dude, I know how good Kaya is. And... for Declan to just pass was just wildly impressive, and it was like, and again, it was a sign of things to come for Moody for this whole tournament. It was just like we didn't kind of get a chance to talk about it initially, and so I wanted to circle back to like both of us being very impressed with like, went to north-south and just north-south time.
Yep.
I've had guys do. I had a guy do that to me in a tournament at brown belt, and it was just not demoralizing because I had to fight at it, but it was just like
Shout out to TJ.
Shout out TJ. Beat me at blue belt 6 years later. Beat me at brown belt. I was like, awesome. It was just like he passed me so quick, didn't get points for the pass because I didn't have guard long enough. And I was like, oh, I still think about that. I still bring that up when I teach all the time because it's just hilarious. Like, yeah, man, I'm not that good. Like, this is what happened.
If you've competed long enough, everybody has things like that, I think.
Yeah, but that's what it reminded me of. Just like, man, he passed. I'm better than that, and he just passed. So moving on to the fourth round. Oh, sorry, last round of that, we have Roberto de Frias versus Kaya Rudolph, ends in a draw. Round 4, we had Kit Dale versus Albi, ends in a draw. Belal versus Kaya, ends in a draw. Declan versus Roberto, inside heel hook. This is a neat little kind of back and forth transition here. Eventually, they get into the footlock. You want to talk about anything before that or now?
Not before the heel hook, no.
They get into footsies, Austin. Leave it to you if you want to describe what's going on here.
Yeah, there was like a really cool spot where it looked like Declan was gonna go like a back step into saddle, but he didn't. He spins the other way underneath.
That sequence.
Yeah, he spins the other way underneath.
He was
and
gonna
ends up in 50-50.
Inverted pendulum sweep him.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah,
which he was going to go under, and he was going to use the leg press, basically leg press pendulum sweep to take Bob over, and Bob flat passes across, gets back on top.
Yeah, and it looked like his outside leg was going to like dip behind him, but then instead he inverts the other way to get to 50-50.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to get to the inside heel hook.
Exactly like Couch does the false reap into the saddle. Looked like where Declan was going to fail off of the pendulum sweep to that, does the full inversion over, and I was like, oh, that's a really uncommon. It was.
Yeah, if you watch like Robert Deagle does this, like he does like that Connie Basami stuff. That's what it looked like he was going to set up, but then he just goes the other way, like kind of all of a sudden to get back to 50-50, which...
Well, he goes back to 50-50 and throws the heel hook really quickly, which is, again, a transition I personally like a lot. Bob is hip to it, hips down, but then Declan does a great job of like re-squaring his hips to basically put them into just regular 50-50, which I love. And then I like this because you could see the kind of thought process for how Bob was. We're on the same side of Bob's foot, so you can see how Bob is defending the heel hook, and defending the entry, and defending like trying to get out. And it was really nice to see of like, oh, he's got his foot in front, he's got his opposite foot over top, he's blocking, he's forcing Declan to push down. It was really nice to see like the defensive pieces that Bob was doing here, and then Declan's offense. I'm like, okay, how is Declan going to get the feet free, get the feet open?
Yeah, he had really good. He used his elbow to do a lot of the separating, which I think is like pretty textbook at this point for like the meta game of 50-50. But like
I learned it from you. I got that from you. You taught a class like a couple years ago, and then you're like, dude, look, it's like, that's just how I do that now.
Also, shout out to another guy, Louis, who like kind of showed me like, instead of just putting your elbow in the way, put your whole body in the way so they can't get their foot back in. It's like, oh yeah, that's a great point. That's basically what Declan did in. Separating with the elbows, kind of like the meta, once you get to the kind of that 80-20 knee kind of dialed down position. Separating with the elbow, get both the feet separated, and then he got right to the inside heel hook.
What I thought was really interesting that we saw Bob like start to realize that he had to counter footlock to get Declan to make space, and he went for the toe hold on the outside, and you're in this weird race. Again, it's almost the exact same race we see Nicky Rod versus Gordon, where it's like, can I break your foot and toe hold before you break me with the heel hook?
Yeah, it's one of those things like the toe hold comes on faster, but the heel hook is more damaging. So if you can kind of eat some of the toe hold, or not get broken in the toe hold, then the heel hook is definitely going to finish you.
It was just the whole sequence was really, I was like, oh, look at that. You got to see like great defense work, and then you got to see Declan actually win the heel battle, come through, and then make the hip square as Bob goes for the toe hold, but just doesn't have enough bite to turn fully before he has to basically let go of the toe hold and belly up to not get his leg broken in half.
Yeah.
It was just a cool sequence of like, oh, look at that. This is like
100%.
This is what the high level game looks like, where it's like all these sort of correct decisions, and then Declan being able to play around it, get through, get the elbow down, get the heel hook, and get it done.
Yep.
It was a fun sequence. That was the end of round 4, final round. And so then Lachlan comes out on the broadcast stage, and I thought it was really funny. They flash a graphic that it's Declan Moody 3, Belal 1, and then everyone else has 0. And you're like, and Lachlan kind of goes, well, it's probably Declan and someone else. But I did like that Lachlan actually explained how they were doing the point scoring here, where if you got submitted, you essentially got a negative point.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a submission, you had a positive point. So it was like, oh yeah, this is done. And then Lachlan went, well, in reality, like Declan's through. Like essentially the lowest score Declan can get is 2.
Yep.
Belal can get 2 here, can get another sub and get 1.
Possibly get 2,
but
yeah.
everyone else here can get 1 sub as well and be much more in this than potentially in Belal. If Belal gets subbed here, you have other guys like it. In the last round, it technically was really still anyone's game except for Declan. We knew Declan was going through,
right?
But it was just a really interesting format where it's like a submission gets you 1 point, losing by submission loses you a point. I think for the round robin for the 6-man, that's a really good way to do it because
for sure
it also prevents you just capitalizing on your weakest guy, and it also prevents you from like losing to a bad style matchup for your game. If you're trying to field a team, you want to make sure that an aggregate, you are the best guy for that team overall. 100%. And it just makes it so it's like, oh yeah, you beat everyone else, but this one style matchup that this guy in the tournament has, you can't beat and you'll lose to.
It doesn't eliminate you from contention. Yeah. Because maybe you're a finisher, but you have a bunch of draws.
Or on the other side, it can as well, where it's like, yeah, we maybe don't want to field you because another team will have guys like this. And so I actually really liked the format for like
it's probably the smartest way to do it.
Yeah, it was. And there was some controversy online with basically talking about like Kit Dale's performance, and it's like, well, he didn't have the subs. I mean, you kind of talked in the earlier section of the show. The format here is looking for guys with subs because that is what is going to win you quintet, is going to win you CJI. It was just interesting. I like that they put the graphic up after the rounds to go, look, here's where the standings are, so now you have a better understanding as a viewer.
Right.
Like, I've talked about it for years and years and years and years. If you want to have a good broadcast and you want to make jiu-jitsu more digestible for people, you need more graphics. You need to use your interstitial time effectively. You need to have an explanation like, hey, have your commentators be knowledgeable and understand the rules and be able to explain on the broadcast what you're seeing, why you're seeing it, and also the formatting of why someone may be making a decision that they're making.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not enough to just kind of verbally announce it. Having those graphics, having those overlays is really important for the overall broadcast, for the entertainment value, and to explain it to the layman who maybe they know somebody got subbed, but maybe they don't remember who subbed who because it is round robin. There's a lot of matches to get through. So it's like, okay, cool. Declan has 3. This guy has 1. He wins. I get it.
It's one of the things I think Quintet did really, really well. If you see the early quintets, they have a really good, it's a big graphic that basically shows each team, and it shows like draw, loss, sub, and it basically gives you a graphic of like you come in at any point in the round and you can see exactly how the entire tournament has gone so far. And you're like, oh, it's just really easy to see. Sumo has a similar thing as well. But I think, again, I've talked about it for years, more events need better graphics. Like I think that there should be I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the show, but if we ever did an event, Grappling Rewind Invitational, we've joked about it internally for the entirety of the length of we've had the show. We would have graphics for like if we have points like sweep. There would be a graphic that comes up on the board if there are 2 points on the board.
Yeah.
And like so, it's not just on the commentary to tell you there was a sweep. Yeah. There will also be a graphic with a little animation that goes sweep, and you can see point and it would have a little blurb of like chest, and it would give you criteria. So if you're watching, like I know what that is. Like think about a touchdown. Yeah. In football, like the touchdown, and there's a big graphic that shows you a touchdown. Or just like in bowling, they have like the animations. Like
not even just that, like every professional sport has those kind of stat overlays as well.
Yes.
So it's like, he's 11 for 16 completions or some shit. I don't know. I don't really know football like that. But it's like, you know kind of where the person's good. You kind of know what's happening during the match. So in those kind of lulls in the match where maybe things are kind of stalling out, it's like, okay, well, maybe Kit Dale's passing this guy's guard, but he's 1 for 2 on over-under passes in this tournament or something. Yeah. That'd be really cool to see.
Stuff like that.
It'd be hard to do in real time, but I think it'd be really cool.
It's doable with enough, like baseball does it.
Yeah.
Like there's enough sports that do it. I think that, again, I like that we're seeing it more for like little stuff like this, where 100%. It's just, they don't have to do it, but we go into the final round here, and I know exactly like who's still a live dog in the tournament and like where it can end up. Well, it's cool. I know Declan's through. That might now inform how Declan plays.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know that like Kit really has to get stuff. I know like it gives me context and framework for where the tournament is so far, so that now I can watch the next section of it being better informed as a viewer to understand some of the decisions the athletes may make or be required to make. Where it's like, hey man, homie has to sub this round. He does not win this unless he submits. Like, oh, cool. That's good to know. It will inform how he's going to play. Man, this guy has been subbed twice already. okay, maybe looked at him. Like, for instance,
Right.
in the first round of round 5, we have Kai Rudolph submitting Albi with an inside heel hook. And I was like, cool. Like, we know that Albi has already had a couple of sub losses in round 2 and in round 3 here. So it's like, okay, well, it might be, Kaya has. We've been impressed with Kaya for a long time. This was like, oh, Kaya might be able to win this back here and get back on the board with a win over Albi, and that's very possible because Albi's going in with 2 losses. So it's those sort of context pieces for a viewer. I think I would love to see jiu-jitsu get more on top of, and we're starting to see it. Like, again, the smooth comp overlays, man, they're a game changer. Guys walk out, you see this guy. Here's the gym, here's the score. Like, those overlays make watching jiu-jitsu so much better because, again, 8 years ago, this would have been no name, no graphic tournament.
Right.
That's just how these things ran on YouTube. Occasionally you'd get one. It makes it for us with the turnaround time of the show, and as a viewer, it makes it impossible for me to watch.
Yeah.
If I have to go and tab through a 7-hour event and go and find matches, like, as a viewer, it's like, man, I'm probably not going to watch a 7-hour event unless I catch it live. If I catch it live, I'll watch the whole thing.
Sure.
But, like, if I'm trying to catch it on the replay, I have no idea of the context. Like, and they had super fights in this as well. It's like, okay, is this super fight? Is this a bracket match? Is not.
Right.
I could tune into any section of this broadcast and know exactly where we were, exactly what round we were in. It was like, it made the whole thing feel like a production, and I appreciate that we're there in jiu-jitsu now.
100%.
Very long discussion to get to the last 2 matches. Kit Dale versus Bob Frias ended in a draw. Declan Moody versus Belal ended in a draw. We have Declan Moody and Belal move on. Kaya Rudolph, why did he not make it in here?
I think.
What was the criteria?
Did he get subbed? Because I would have given him net 0.
Would have given him a net 0, but he doesn't get subbed in the first, doesn't get subbed in the second, doesn't get subbed in the third, doesn't get subbed in the fourth, gets a sub in the fifth. Belal gets a draw in the first. He gets a draw in the second. He gets.
Yeah, so Belal and Kaya might have been tied on points then, wouldn't they?
Then I'm guessing that Belal would probably has got his sub faster.
He did get his sub faster. That's true.
Then that's probably what the criteria was.
That makes sense.
Which again, if you're gonna go sub only, that usually is the criteria.
Yeah.
Or you go to crowd noise, which I like as a metric as well.
That's fair.
Like we're Formula E, the fan boost. So yeah, that was the tournament, and I've kind of given my closing thoughts on the tournament and where we are at. What are your? Do you have any other thoughts that I didn't talk about for this whole thing?
No, maybe just like a piggyback thought is that it was really great to see something like this, pretty much an in-house tournament run like a professional event. And then I also had one comment on the format. So they had the same pit walls that CJI would have, but they did have one open section of mat. So that only came into play a couple times where they kind of like went off the edge
They had
of
to
the
do
mat.
weird resets.
Yeah, so there's a couple times where they had to do resets, where in CJI there wouldn't be any resets for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing I didn't hear what they said about it, but I'm guessing that was like a logistics thing. Like, it is just a massive pain in the ass to get 4 of those walls versus getting 3 or 2 of them.
Yeah, and then if you want to have any kind of spectators, you need some kind of like
you got to be over the wall.
And this isn't a gym, right? It's not in like an arena, so it makes sense that they had it that way. But just something to consider for more trials, maybe in the future, to have it in like
a full pit. Get a full pit. Yeah. One thing I really like, and it's where the fuck Craig Jones things comes from, is that Lachlan and M1 or M16 and Absolute, these guys have been running in-houses like this for like 10 years. Like, the whole fuck Craig Jones thing was because they ran an in-house. And the guy got Craig Jones as like his first round. He was like, "Oh, fuck Craig Jones," because like Craig Jones was like the best guy in Australia, or one of the best guys in Australia. And he was like, "Cool, that's my first round. Is this guy like awesome?" Like, that's where that comes from.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they ran these little cats. We've even covered a couple of them on the show when they're actually in the broadcast. But I do like, and we again for Association for Team Balance in Baltimore, we run little in-houses occasionally, like much different level.
Of course,
but I do really appreciate that. How seriously these guys take the competition scene. Like, these are all world level guys, but that they have run these things in house for years and years and years. When now they do produce them, they have experience and they feel like this felt like a jiu-jitsu professional event.
Yeah,
and I liked that where it's like, because they didn't have to. They can just, we've seen in-house trials that run terribly, look terrible. Like,
yeah, or they could have done it closed door. Like, I'm sure some teams probably will to make their selections.
Like, we think Kingswave is going to do that.
I can't imagine that they broadcast theirs because they're pretty tight-lipped about everything until they release an instructional.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, and they've always been like that. Like, that's kind of a Danaher thing, which makes sense if you're building a professional team. Like,
Sure.
like logistically, it makes sense. You have that level of control over the athletes and your team. Like, yeah, why would I show what we're doing in the room and in the team? If you're trying to build like a social media thing, like B Team is, then you do it. But also, you know, the goals for those teams are very, very. The goals are the same. The routes are very different. The methodologies are very different. So again, I like that when they have these big events, like they have the experience, they have the staff. It ran well. Like the audio was pretty good. The cameras were pretty good. Like overall, it ran well. This should be the baseline for broadcast events for jiu-jitsu. And it's not, unfortunately, but like, look at this. You have an ATEM. You have 2 or 3 cameras. For this, they had 4 cameras, which an ATEM Mini will give you 4 splitters, will give you 4 HDMI outputs at 1080p, which is all you need for a broadcast
Everyone knows
thing.
this.
You have a mixer, you have a couple of mics, you have a map mic, and you have 2 commentary mics. It's good. Like, this should be the baseline setup. You can run it through a computer, which will give you some graphic overlays. OBS will let you set up scenes. Smooth Comp has an interface that will let you basically do a video in and an overlay through Smooth Comp. Like, this is very doable for any gym in the country. The aggregate, like in total, you're dealing with less than $2,000 of equipment to run an event like this. And again, this event had better equipment as well in a couple of different places. But to run an event like this style at this level, that's how much, you know, your cameras, your splitters, and it was.
I want everyone to hop in the comments and tell Maine how he needs overlays for the show. Stats on how many times I blink or something stupid.
Hey, wait a second. I'm not going to throw stones in a glass house. This show has it is 10:21 right now. This show comes out in an hour and 39 minutes. So our turnaround time is a little quick here.
Yeah, I think you could do it.
I don't think I can do it. I know I can do it.
Everyone roast Maine for how he doesn't have graphics and overlays.
This is show 3. Dude, I get roasted every other week by MattTube for not having timestamps anymore. Because for years we had timestamps, but because we put the show out so close when we record it now, I don't have time to pull timestamps through. And I keep hoping that AI, because occasionally, once every like 30 or 40 episodes, AI for YouTube will just give me timestamps based on our descriptions. It just does it occasionally. And it just stopped doing it like a year and a half ago.
Dang.
And we get in the comments every time. And again, I want to do it, guys. I want to give you timestamps. I hear you. I would love to do it. It is not feasible with the turnaround time of this show.
Blame like all the co-hosts. Maine's runs a pretty tight ship, but all of us are kind of degenerates. So it's like, yeah, I'll come when I can get there. 7:30-ish.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. But hey, we're 391 episodes in a row without missing one. So, you know, we have a pretty good track record so far.
I think you're doing all right.
I'm doing good. So, Austin, any kind of closing thoughts on CJI or anything else coming up or any other events? Let me just real quick. Let me just click the schedule here. There were some cool matches this last weekend from ADCC Atlanta. Flo was doing some really good coverage there. There were some fun matches there. Fight to Win 281 is going to be Arlington. Might be doing commentary for that.
Oh, nice.
I have to figure that out with Josh. Actually, right now, after the show finishes, if we're actually going to do commentary or not. We historically do commentary for most of the Baltimore events as of the last couple of years, and so I would love to get a chance to do that again if it is in the cards for us to figure out this week. But yeah, that will be next week. We have Masters Worlds coming up at end of May. We have a couple of other events that are also happening, and then we have Worlds. Wait a second.
It's Masters North Americans, and then Worlds is the next week.
Worlds is next week.
Oh man, no, same weekend.
I thought it was in June. It's early this year, isn't it? Yeah, it's May. So we have Worlds coming up here in 2 weeks. So look out for a preview probably next week, 17th now. So it'll be 2 weeks from now. So yeah, man, we have some fun events, fun stuff coming up. Austin, any kind of closing thoughts? You have anything fun going on?
I do not. I don't have big news.
Good. That's always the end of the show. I never want big news at the end of the show. Yeah, I got nothing going on. Hopefully, I'm saying it here, Austin, like I've said for the last 3 months, we should be in the new space next episode.
Solid.
I have to finish painting. We're not going to have baseboards. I've just accepted that there's not going to have baseboards. We're getting a door in next week.
Nice.
And then hopefully we will be good to go, and we'll be in the new space, and it will be very echoey for the first like 2 or 3 weeks while I deal with some sound treatment, and then we will be in a nice new space. It is very blue. I am very excited for it. It does. I think it looks great.
Yeah.
But at this point, 5 months later, so yeah, hopefully this is actually the last show that we do in this space, and we'll move into the new space this coming week, and I am extremely excited for it. Put a lot into the sound treatment there, into the soundproofing there. Moving into the sound treatment this week, and then we'll be good to go. So, Austin, closing thoughts?
No, man. Thanks for having me again. It's been a lot of fun.
Great to have you on, man. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, the co-host,
Austin.
And we have the Grappling Reruns. So that's what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.